gonna give you the top 7 lessons that I learned while I was broke that helped me become rich. And these were lessons that I was doing along the way as I was building wealth, and I did not even realize how important they were. So no matter where you're at in your wealth building journey, you can apply these lessons to your life, and they will help you get to the next level. The first lesson is that your current set of friends, or even your family, are not gonna help you get to where you wanna be. Most of your friends are through circumstance. It's where you went to school, it's where you grew up, it's where you go to work. And for most people, they're not currently where they wanna be in life yet. If you're watching this, you probably have far bigger goals and you wanna grow to the next level. But the reality is, most of the people that you're around right now want to stay where they're at. They may not say it, they may say they have all these dreams of attaining all these different things, but the reality is, almost all of them will be content staying at this current level. And it doesn't mean that they're bad people. It doesn't mean that you have to not be friends with them, period. It just means you're gonna have to make new friends. You're gonna have to make friends who are already a level above you. You're gonna have to make friends who have a mindset of growth and who are gonna actually hold you accountable to achieving your goals. And truthfully, unless somebody has already achieved what you want to achieve, then they don't really know how to get there. You can watch all the YouTubes and listen to podcasts and all these amazing things, but in order to really level up, you need to become friends with people who have already accomplished it. And the same thing is true with your family or your parents. I'm not telling anyone to be disrespectful to their parents or to not love them or to alienate them, but unless your parents have achieved what you want to achieve, then it's very difficult to listen to their advice in regards to career or money. Just to show you the good and the bad side of this, my parents, when I was growing up, wanted to give me every tool available to become the best baseball player I could ever be. And my mom and dad never played baseball, but they were smart enough to go get me the coaching that I needed so that I could learn from people who had already done it. And because of that, I was able to get around people who were at levels way above me, and they were able to train me and help me see what it took to get to the big leagues. Eventually, I got drafted by the Oakland A's in 2010, and I had a long career throughout the minor leagues, but the reality is I would have never got there unless I got in front of the right coaches. Now, even though my baseball career didn't work out completely the way that I had hoped, I had to then go into business and figure out what to do with my career. Now, at this point, I could not necessarily look to my parents for advice anymore because their advice didn't line up with what I desired. My mom and dad wanted me to get a nice, safe government job because they had been burned as entrepreneurs. My dad owned a convenience store and lost it during the Great Recession. My mom was a real estate agent and got hit super hard during that time. So they were a bit jaded by entrepreneurship because they had been burned by it. But I knew that in order to reach my goals, I was going to have to pursue that path. And so I had to disregard their advice and seek other entrepreneurs who were able to survive the recession and actually thrive. So the moral of lesson 1 is that when you're broke, you're gonna have to find a new circle of friends who aren't broke. Lesson 2 is that passive income is not the way when you're broke. So many people who are broke are so concerned about trying to make passive income and create all these multiple streams. In reality, they should not be thinking about passive income at all. When you're broke, you need to think about how do you raise your active income. You need to start learning a skill that you can repeat over and over again to make a lot of money. There is nothing wrong with trading time for money when you are broke because it's the only thing you can do. You have nothing but time, and therefore you need to increase how much you can make per hour of time worked. And so for me, instead of trying to worry about buying rental properties off the bat, I was concerned about trying to figure out how to grow my skills with creating active income. And so I got really good at flipping houses. And that was how I started to really build wealth and build up these skills that eventually allowed me to create passive income later on in my career. The problem is most broke people are trying to get into passive income way too fast. And I talked a lot about this in a recent YouTube video, which I will link below, where I mentioned my 3M framework called Make, Manage, and Multiply, where it goes in depth on the process of building wealth extremely fast. The third thing I learned while I was broke was living below my means. Now, I used to be super frugal because I was playing minor league baseball, as I mentioned before, and during that time, I was only making $1,200 a month. And so what I would do was I would work in the off season doing side hustles like couch flipping and real estate, and then I would go work 6 months in the minor leagues where I was literally like not making any money. And so I had to learn to budget and be super frugal during that time because I just didn't have the ability to do anything else. And so I was just like all these other guys I kind of hate on today, where I wasn't buying any Starbucks, I wasn't eating out, I was just making chicken and rice, and I was just living super frugal. And that served me well for 2 reasons that helped me later on as I built wealth. The first was that I learned to become content no matter where I was at. You see, even though I was super frugal and I was struggling financially, I wasn't sad or depressed. I didn't think less of myself. To be honest, I was just as happy then as I am today. And the reason is because I always had margin in my life. I wasn't stressing about paying my bills because I was always good with budgeting and spending far below what I was making. And even to this day, instead of increasing my lifestyle at the same rate that I've increased my wealth, I've still remained very frugal relative to how much I make. And in turn, I don't have a lot of stress compared to a lot of the other high income earners that I know because they spend their money just as fast as they make it. But the other part of living below your means that becomes really helpful later on is that you start saving a lot of money, and now you have the ability to start investing into your business, investing into real estate, and start really compounding your wealth fast. The fourth lesson I learned when I was broke was that nobody else was gonna do it for me. And so if I wanted to make a lot of money, I had to start getting resourceful and become an entrepreneur. Back when I was playing minor league baseball, YouTube and side hustles and all this stuff were not super popular. There was no TikTok showing you how you can go make 100K with this random side hustle. Information was not freely available like it is today. And so for me, I had to get super resourceful and think about ways to make money without much help. I knew that I wanted to pursue playing baseball, but I also knew that I wasn't able to get a job because nobody was gonna go hire me for 6 months out of the year and then go let me leave to play baseball. And so I had to be resourceful and say, okay, well, if I wanna pursue this dream, how can I go work for 6 months to make enough money, but also still go practice and weight train and do all the things necessary as a professional baseball player? I didn't have the time to go work 8-hour shifts at a job and then go miss my trainings and all that because my trainings in baseball were far more important to me. And so I said, how can I be resourceful and fit all of these things into my life? And it's exactly what led me down the path of real estate. It's what led me down the path of flipping couches. I figured out a way to fit everything into the box and the lifestyle that I wanted to live, even without a lot of money. And the moral of this lesson is that so many of you constrain yourself to this box. You say, hey, well, I guess I gotta work 8 hours a day and I have to get a job. I don't have room to fit this into my life. That is the wrong way to think, especially if you're broke. You're creating this box upon yourself that's already flawed. You're broke. The best earners in the world do not have a box. Everything is available to them. Elon Musk does not look at the world as even his constraint. He's thinking about going to outer space and how to make that a reality. And so you should never put a box on yourself with all these different constraints that you think you have. You need to learn to be resourceful and figure out how to make the things that you want a reality. The fifth lesson I learned was the value of networking and education. Now, starting out when I was broke, I did not want to pay for any kind of education. I did not want to network with other people. I wanted to be introverted because that's naturally how I am. And I wanted to figure things out on my own because I had a lot of pride. But it wasn't until I started going to real estate meetups and I started investing in myself into education that I realized, like, wow, I can learn a lot way quicker if I just get around the right people and I pay the right mentors and I learn the things super fast that would have otherwise taken me years to learn, or I would have just never learned at all. I can't tell you how many broke people are so scared to invest into themselves because they have very little money. For example, if you want to get into real estate and you've been thinking about it for years and you're still not taking action getting your first deal, what makes you think that you all of a sudden are going to figure it out? How many years have you wasted thinking about this dream of real estate, but you're too afraid to invest in yourself? I highly doubt you're gonna figure it out on your own if you haven't done it to this point. Something in your life needs to change. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And what's crazy to me is that people who are broke think they have more to lose. They say, well, I don't have a lot of money and therefore I can't invest in myself. My opinion is you have nothing to lose if you're broke, so going into debt doesn't really mean anything. There's no difference between having a couple of dollars in your bank account and having a negative net worth because you have credit card debt or whatever else. I would rather take a loan or go take credit card debt and invest in myself versus just playing it safe with no money. It makes absolutely no sense when you are broke to play it safe. And that was the exact same mindset I had when I flipped my first house. I did not have enough money saved up for a down payment, but I said, you know what? What's the worst that can happen if I max out my credit cards and I go flip my first house? The worst that could happen is I just mess up, the deal doesn't work out, and now I have this debt. I might end up going bankrupt or who knows, but either way, I'm still in the same position that I'm in today. That's the absolute worst case that can happen. The best case that can happen is what exactly did happen. The first flip went really good. I made $25,000. That gave me enough momentum, experience, optimism, and everything else that allowed me to succeed in my entrepreneurial journey the 8 years since. So you've got to be willing to invest in yourself if you're broke. Figure out how to find the money to invest in yourself. The sixth lesson that I learned was the importance of sales and marketing. So when I was flipping couches, I wanted to do it to just make money, but I did not realize until years later that I was actually building up my sales and marketing skills. Every time I bought a couch, I was in negotiation. Every time I sold a couch, I was negotiating. Every time I relisted a couch on Craigslist, I was making it nice and pretty. I was writing copy. I was doing all of these things that you need to do in good marketing. I just didn't know I was doing it at the time. And it was through flipping all of those couches that I eventually was able to use those skills in real estate. And after using them in real estate many years, I was able to use them for other businesses and other industries. And so learning the skills of sales and marketing when you're broke is absolutely critical. And so I would highly recommend, if you're looking at taking a job, try and figure out how to go take a sales job. Go try and figure out how to take a marketing job, because those are the two most important skills that you're gonna need in order to build businesses and create wealth. And that leads me to lesson number 7, which is the last one that I learned, is that you need to learn to enjoy the process. I was happy when I was broke, and I'm happy today. I see a lot of people who are miserable when they're broke, and I see a lot of people who are miserable when they're rich. Don't get me wrong, having more money is definitely nice, but whether or not you're happy is in your own mindset. And so make sure you enjoy the process.